I'm starting to put together this year my looking back a bit. And when I get back into the 70s, just about every week that I look at, the guy by the name of Bobby Santos is consistently in the top 5 or a winner. Bobby was one of the select group that some of us call the No Arena Gang. This select group, which included Bobby Santos, Bill Slater, Bugsy Stevens, Fats Caruso, Leo Cleary, Freddie DeSaro, and many others, got their start basically at Norwood and went to just about every track on the East Coast and ran good and won. Bobby Santos was originally started racing, which I didn't know today, until in 1952. First time I ever saw Bobby Santos, I believe, was in 1989, and he had just taken over the driving chores of Art Barry. Art Barry had a beautiful red coupe with injectors on it. It was numbered 909. Bobby did quite well in that car, and from Norwood Arena, with the help of Art Barry, he branched out, and they started to run Stafford, they ran Thompson, and some of the things I can remember about going to Malta every Friday night, Bobby Santos was always there, and he was always in the top 5. A very tough competitor. And in fact, at Malta was one of the shining moments of Bobby's career. He was one of these type of guys who was a runner. He wasn't a blocker. He ran to win. Well, he was running behind one of New York's finest, favorite son, who I won't mention his name at the time, but he was known to be a consistent blocker. He ran for position. Well, Bobby kept trying to get by him, trying to get by him, trying to get by him. Well, finally, Bobby got underneath him, and he sent this guy so far out into the woods at Malta, they thought he was lost. Well, they wanted to fine him. And when the word got out that they were going to fine him, there was about 40 people waiting at the pit gate to chip in. One other instance that I remember, too, it was at Stafford Speedway, and it was in the early 70s, and that's when Jeff Bodine was winning just about everything there was. Well, Jeff Bodine, he was the bad guy, and everybody else, they loved him. Well, this one particular night, Jeff was leading the feature, and Bugsy kept trying to get by him, Well, we finally got on the outside of him, and they just went by the starter stand, and Jeff pinched him off, and first thing you know, here's Bugsy up on top of the fence, and he's riding the fence into the first turn. He was done for the night. And Bobby Santos and Bugsy were very, very close. In fact, I believe they still are. In the following restarting laps, as they went into the first turn, Bobby was trying to get under Bodine. And Bodine was pinching him off, too. Well, finally he did. He got underneath him, and he parked him. And I mean, he parked him good. Well, needless to say, the track officials had to throw him out that night for rough riding. But because of the fact that it was such a camaraderie there, and because of the fact that Bobby was so popular and so was Bugsy, when they towed Bobby around in his car, the entire crowd stood up and gave him a standing ovation. Bobby Santos was and still is one of the better light competitors that we ever had here in New England. The biggest stars in his career was one year he won, I believe, a 400 lapper at Lancaster, and he also won the Cardinal 500 at Martinsville. It's a shame to say that his career was cut short because of a neck injury. He was driving for Joe Brady at the time, and he had a pretty bad wreck at Thompson, and the doctors strongly suggested that he not race anymore. So needless to say, he retired in 1973. But still in all, we can look back at the accomplishments that he had, and he did a good job, and he did it proudly. So at this time, I'd like to induct Bobby Santos. I'm sorry to say that he could not make it today, but we have his family here, his son, and his daughter, and most of all, who I believe is probably going to be his greatest contribution to racing, is his grandson, who's just starting to race now. Would the Santos family please come up?
Thank you very much. Well, I'm not too happy with him for not being here. So we'll wing it. Also, he did come back after that neck injury and win the Westboro Championship. Proud of that. Well, thank you very much. We're honored to accept this award on behalf of my father. My father couldn't be here because he's in Florida. Lucky him. We'd like to thank Al Feeney and Mike Joy and all the people that make this thing happen. I'd like to congratulate all the retired drivers who have in many ways helped create a safe and exciting racing experience for our future drivers. And that's about it. Thank you.
Me and my sister Erica here, we've only got to witness our grandfather race twice. And one of them was in a retired driver's race at Riverside. And it was a Legends car. And I remember he started 8th up on the outside. And he just passed everyone on the outside. I don't know, it was amazing how he drove that car. It looked like he was 16 years old the way he was driving it. And another time we saw him race, and actually I didn't witness him race. I was racing against him, and that was in Erica's car, and she'll tell you about that.
My brother and I raced 350 Supers in New Hampshire and Epping Star Speedway, and I couldn't be there one weekend, so everybody thought it would be a good idea to get my grandfather to drive the car. They thought he was going to make a miracle comeback or something like that. But he got in it, and he did pretty good, but they're kind of disappointed because he didn't go any faster than I did.